All right, so I think we're going to get started. Hi everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Orly. I'm a product manager at Comeet, and today I'm really excited to host Jameson and Jen from Vervoe. They're here to talk about their amazing AI-powered assessment tool that is fully integrated with Comeet. So to start things off, I'm going to hand things over to Jameson, who will tell you some more about Vervoe and all the basics about this.
Great. Thanks so much, Orly. I really appreciate it. And good afternoon, good morning to everybody, depending on where in the world you're located right now. I know we're spanning a few different time zones, and I really appreciate your time. As Orly had mentioned, my name is Jameson Smith. I'm an account executive over here at Vervoe, which is an online AI-driven skills testing platform. And we're really excited to officially launch our partnership with Comeet Assessments, which we'll be spending some time on today. I know a lot of you probably came to today's call to learn about some of the new technologies in the market space right now, because there are business challenges that you're trying to solve that may pertain to efficiency or might pertain to trying to find better ways to qualify talent as they're coming in the door. Certainly skills assessments are a great way to do that. But I think in the most part, as you're doing your research on the assessment market space, things can get really murky really quickly. So what I want to do to start us off is just have a foundational understanding, first and foremost. What are skills assessments and why are they important to your business, right? When we look at the marketplace, traditionally in the assessment market, there's about 3 different buckets, I'll call them, where assessments fit into, right? Many of them I'm sure you're familiar with. You have what we call psychometric testing or personality testament. That's one bucket. You have another bucket that is considered cognitive, right, or problem-solving assessments. And then you have the third bucket, which is skills assessment, which is what Vervoe really focuses on, both hard skills and soft skills. Frankly, the reason we focus on that is because we find skills assessment to be most relevant in determining whether or not somebody can perform in a specific role. So let's take a look at that. First and foremost, what is a skills assessment, right? So skills assessments are used to provide an unbiased, validated evaluation of a candidate's ability to perform the duties listed in the job description. This is really important, and you'll notice that I highlighted a couple words on here, right? Validated ability to perform job. That's most important. If you think about a skills assessment, I really want to impress upon you to think about it as an audition. A skills assessment, if done the right way, really should serve as an audition for all of your candidates who are applying for specific roles. And thereby, when they've completed those assessments, you've actually auditioned them for that job. You've actually got validated data as to how well or how poor a candidate will perform in the job that they're applying for. Okay, so why is that all important? Well, with most of the companies that we tend to engage with, if you're looking at the screen, shift your attention momentarily to the left-hand side, right? This is traditionally what we find that companies are still adhering to for a recruitment process, right? You have massive volumes of candidates that are applying for jobs, or you have recruiters going out there looking for passive candidates that they can engage with based on profiles that they see online, right? What they're doing is predominantly reviewing resumes, reviewing applications, and they're going through a very slow, painful process of looking at a CV and a resume and trying to determine where somebody worked before, what role they might have been in, what colleges or universities they might have attended. And then ultimately, after looking at that, they think they have a good sense of whether or not somebody's the right fit, and then they'll move into a phone screening. And then at the end of the day, what we find out is a lot of the selection that they've made, we find the candidates actually fall out and don't work out for the company. And the big reason behind that is because through that antiquated process of looking at a piece of paper where somebody is going to paint the best picture of themselves or get on a phone screening with you and tell you about all the great things that they've done, truly you've had no validation as to whether or not these individuals can perform in the role. So as we shift over to the right-hand side of the screen, if you think about the skills assessment and using them as an audition for candidates, it's actually going to give you the confidence that you need in making the right selection for your business at massive scale. Each one of those assessments should be tailored to the specific job role where you're testing the different types of hard skills and soft skills and all those competencies that are going to be relevant to how a candidate's going to perform in your company. And then you can go through and quickly evaluate all of the candidates based on those values that you have. Right. So thinking about what we're doing here at Vervoe right now too, is we're actually trying to bridge the gap between employers and candidates in the marketplace. There's been an awful lot of research that's been done out there talking about the importance of skills, talking about some of the challenges that folks have in the level of confidence they're making in terms of hires. So just some stats that I'd like to share with you too. When it comes to employers, most of the employers that we engage with will tend to tell you that their confidence level in the selections that they're making right now really aren't that high. Only 31% of hiring managers feel confident in their abilities to make the right hire, right? If they adhere to some of those antiquated practices that I've just shared with you, right? When we talk with them a little bit more about, what would improve that experience for you, 77% of hiring managers agree that they are investing more into the different types of technologies that will actually help them validate those skills. And then for companies who've already implemented these types of practices, they're already noticing that through those investments, that they're more likely to make a better quality hire and retain those employees long-term, right? And then if we look at the candidate market space right now, and thinking again, bridging that gap, when we talk to candidates, there's so many of them out there that truly do possess great talent and great skills that relate to an organization. But many of them just tell us that, they're struggling to get an interview because of their background. There's too many companies that are still putting a lot of human bias into looking at companies that they worked at or colleges that they went to, and they're not being equitable in their recruitment practices and giving a chance to anybody who wants to apply for that job who very well may possess those skills, right? They're also telling us that 69% of those professionals do feel that verified skills are far more important than a college education, right? And then candidates who completed simulated job tasks were 60% more likely to increase their relationship with employers and end up staying with them long-term. So in short, basically skill-based hiring does give companies confidence to hire people who perform. They stay longer with the organizations and they're far more engaged. And what we've seen through the work that Vervoe's been doing with our clients, some of the major improvements that we made have been reducing their time to hire by 90%, right? Eliminating all that time that goes into CV screening or phone screening, reducing turnover rates, which I know is a challenge for most companies these days. We've been able to make impacts up to 67% reduction in attrition rates. And then with candidate satisfaction, which we're constantly measuring, we're at about a 95% satisfaction rate on feedback that we're acquiring from candidates who take our assessments. So that's just a little bit about what's going on in the industry as a whole from an assessment perspective. So I want to share a little bit more insight into Vervoe and specifically what it is that we're doing and how we're partnering with Comeet. All right. So who is Vervoe? Again, we are a skills-based company, right? We help companies predict job performance, excuse me, by using artificial intelligence and automatically grading those skills assessments that candidates complete with the AI tools that we have. So our mission here is to really make sure that companies are hiring candidates based on the candidate's merit and not worrying about what their background is or where they worked, where they came from, who they know, what schools they went to. It's all about job performance. As you see some of these logos down to the bottom, they're great names, they're great logos, right? The Walmarts, Trinets of the world. The whole reason that I show this with you is when you think about your own company and you think about the different types of roles that you want to fill, Vervoe can be used alongside Comeet for virtually any company in any organization for any role that you have. Any of the competencies that are important to you in your business, we'll have a way to help you design the optimal assessment so that you can invite all of your candidates and find out how well they're going to perform for your company. Right. So again, we can do everything at massive scale. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide just in the essence of time here. But again, just thinking about what it is we're sharing and the demo that Orly, excuse me, that Orly will take you through today is think about what skills are important to your organization, right? Again, hard skills and soft skills. Think about those roles that you're hiring candidates for and what you as an organization, as a hiring manager, as a recruiter truly value in candidates, and give us that opportunity to create the right assessment to validate how well somebody's going to perform for you. I'll explain how it all works from a high level. So if we think of it as multiple steps in that process, step number one is really building the right assessment. So again, what competencies are important to the organization? Putting together the right line of questioning for the candidates and making those assessments engaging for them is very important, right? So build the right assessment, mix up the types of questions that you'll have in there. Some could be multiple choice, some might be a video response, some might be through immersive testing. There's a variety of different ways that you can actually demonstrate to a candidate a real life audition that they can take for one of your roles. After you've got the right assessment built, you can then simply invite candidates in a few different ways. You can either directly email them an assessment that they can complete in their own time from the comfort of their own home. So it's all done remotely online. Another way that you could do it is to include trackable, shareable links in a job posting that you may have in the market, where somebody can just click a link and step right into the platform and begin completing the assessment there in their own time. Okay. After a candidate actually completes that assessment and the data begins to flow back into your platform or into your ATS, you then actually have a way to go in there and optimize the assessment as well. Right. This is one of the things that really makes Vervoe unique, is that our clients have the ability to calibrate the technology and do some manual scoring to train our algorithms based on what's most important to them, so that ultimately our AI algorithm scores candidates identically to how our client would do it. Then, after it's been calibrated and you continue to see the data flow in from candidates, you can go in and you can make your selections based on truly what matters most to you. So you have the ability to do some side-by-side comparisons of those candidates based on the different competencies in the assessment. You'll have an opportunity to evaluate their responses. You'll actually see that we can provide some rankings, some trophies to top performers. And then you have the ability to actually weight those different competencies so that, again, you can make the right hiring selection for your organization. And at the end of the process, you can actually hire those hidden gems, right? And when we say hidden gems, it's those candidates that, if you just adhere to the old practices of reviewing CVs and resumes, you may not have even given an opportunity. But through the technology that we're providing to you, you'll actually be able to analyze them, and you'll find that you're making better hiring selections with some of those candidates who have proven themselves as top performers, and you can actually close the loop with them throughout the life cycle of their career when you go back and make those evaluations. So I do want to spend a little bit of time here just talking about the technology and the artificial intelligence. It's one of the things that Vervoe is most proud of, and that we get the most questions about is, how do your algorithms work? What is your AI model? So what we've actually created here is a 3-tiered algorithm that analyzes candidates at different levels. So we call it the how model, the what model, and the preference model. Okay. The how model is simply based on behavioral patterns that we're analyzing. There's about 140 different behavioral traits that we analyze when somebody is going through an assessment. So some of those data points are speed to answer, how quickly somebody will respond to a question that's been asked, whether or not the candidates are actually changing their answer throughout the assessment, how they navigate through an assessment. So there's a lot of behavioral data that we're collecting and analyzing, and we can make a correlation between top performers and low performers. After we've done that, we're also going down to the what model, which is actually based on pure accuracy. So it's to suggest that if we're going to ask a candidate an answer, a question, we also have to understand what a good answer looks like, right? So within the framework of an assessment, there will actually be suggested samples of good answers, and we can do some keyword matching between those suggested samples and the way that a candidate actually responded. Okay. The last thing on here is the preference model. And again, this is something that makes Vervoe unique unto any other company, is that ability to go in and manually score candidates based on your preferences as a client. So again, you might see that Vervoe ranked a candidate as a 9 on a particular question, but you might say, in review of that, I actually think that the answer they provided is more like a 6. You can go in and manually take over that scoring practice and train the algorithm based on what's most important to you, so that our machine learns what you value and begins to score those candidates the same way you would. And that's really the magic in what it is we do here at Vervoe. So thinking too about where would all this happen within the funnel, right? The recruitment funnel, there's a few different places where Vervoe can actually be implemented. You know, you could do them pre-application for credentialing, but for the most part, I think everybody that's on the call, being either a hiring manager or a recruiter, should think about it from the application point, right? Vervoe really should be implemented at the very top of your hiring funnel, at the point where a candidate has expressed interest in applying for a particular role. Again, there's 2 different ways that you would go about that. You have the active market, where candidates are actively out there applying for jobs, applying for certain roles. But in many instances, with some of those more senior level roles, you're going after the passive audience, right? You're looking for active candidates that are out on LinkedIn, right? Where you might engage with them. You'll have to do a little bit of selling for that job opportunity that you're trying to present to them. But once they've expressed interest in that particular role, that would be the point where you actually want to invite them to take an assessment, right? And then once they've taken that assessment, all of the data flows back into the platform, and then you would step inside the Comeet ATS to actually evaluate those results and the scoring. And then again, post-hire, you'd have the ability to close the loop on these and circle back after candidates have been with the organization for, let's say, 60 to 90 days. You have an ability to go back and close that loop and make some evaluations to say, you know, if we had the opportunity to do it again, would we have hired the same employee the same way, right? And you can put all of that data into the platform and have those long-term running report cards for them. So just to close us out on this whole topic before I shift over to Orly for an actual working demo, thinking again about some of the impacts that we've been able to make here. I know I've spent some time on each one of these, but again, thinking about employee turnover, one of our great clients, Omnicom Media Group, had a major problem when they first came to us with a high degree of turnover. It was at roughly 36% when they came to us. Within the year, we were able to reduce that rate down to only 8%, which was a huge impact. Then with our client TSA, we started thinking about, you know, the grading. Is our grading mechanism in line with the results that they want to see? Can it actually do what their hiring managers and their recruiters have been doing all this time? And we were able to measure it that our AI was 98% accurate to how their humans on their team were scoring. So an incredibly high degree of confidence that they've had in the way that we're able to score and get them results. And then the last thing that I'll point out too, when we think about this in terms of the candidate, it's always been about being fair and being equitable to candidates in the market. And one of our most recent success stories that we're very proud of is with our client Australia Post, who just recently hired a van driver by the name of Darren, who had been out of work for quite some time and really wasn't given a fair opportunity to demonstrate his skills or abilities to other organizations because of some major gaps that he had on his resume and the fact that he was always also up there in age. None of those background biases are built into Australia Post's process. They believe in giving everybody an equal opportunity no matter where somebody comes from. And through that, Darren was given an opportunity to demonstrate his skills and actually found a job after being out of work for almost 3 years at a senior point in his career. So again, we're making some dramatic improvements for the candidate market as well overall. So with that being said, I do really appreciate your time and learning a little bit more about Vervoe. Now I'm going to hand things over to Orly so that she can take you through a working demo of how everything works through the Comeet system.
Great, thank you, Jameson. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And what I'm going to do is show you a couple of slides and tell you a little bit about the way the integration works, and then I'll show you a little bit in a demo account as well. So first of all, received an explanation, a great explanation about Vervoe already. But basically what the tool enables you to do, is to send tests using Comeet. Vervoe automatically grades and ranks your candidates based on how well they can do the job, how well they performed on those tests. You can choose specific assessments that will be available to you in your Comeet account based on your specific needs, the specific positions that you're trying to fill. There's a really high level of control in terms of the types of questions that can be asked, the different areas of expertise that you want candidates to have. You'll be able to control all of this through your Vervoe account. And candidates receive an invitation to complete the assessments on their own time, giving them an opportunity to really show you their skills. And then obviously the fact that it's on their own time in terms of candidate experience is really beneficial for everyone. Once the test has been sent to candidates, they've completed it, you can just sit back and wait while Vervoe's AI grades each of the candidates. And you'll be left with a ranked list inside of Comeet, which you can then look over. It will help you to really understand which candidates you should be focusing your time on in terms of moving ahead in the process. I'll show you how this looks in Comeet in just a minute. Basically, all you have to do to get started is to add the assessment step to your workflow in the position. You'll be choosing the appropriate test. And then once the candidates reach a test, it's just a matter of a click of a button in order to send the test to the candidate. And from there, the process is like we talked about. The candidate will receive an email invitation, will be able to access the test in Vervoe on their free time, finish answering the test, and you'll receive the results in Comeet. And obviously, will be informed that the test is in Comeet. Now let's see how it works. So, 1 second while I open my Comeet up. Okay. So hopefully what you're seeing right now is my Comeet screen. This is a demo account. This is all demo data. It doesn't belong to any real candidates or any real customers. And hold on. Are you guys still seeing the slide? This should do it. Hopefully now you'll be seeing my my Comeet screen. Awesome, thank you. So right now I'm inside of a position. I'm going to go ahead and access the position workflow. And what I'll do is here right after the phone interview, once I've done a quick phone screening of the candidate, I want to add my Vervoe step. So here in my step templates, once the integration has been enabled in your account, you'll be able to see a step called Vervoe. Go ahead and click on this step. And I've now added the step to my position workflow. I will then be able to select one of the existing tests. If I want to take a look, make sure that the questions really fit my needs, all I have to do is click on this preview button, and I will be able to see both the invitation and the test exactly as it will appear to the candidate. So this is the exact text that will be shown to the candidate in the email invitation that they'll receive with some quick instructions. And this is actually exactly what the test will look like to the candidates. So you can really get a sense of what the candidate experience will be like. There are various different types of questions. So this one, as you can see, is kind of a multi-choice question. This specific test is for front-end developer position. So here I have some coding questions as well, where you can actually test their coding skills. Remember, there are also being additional question types here. So here is also a great opportunity to test soft skills. Although it's a front-end developer position, soft skills are really important in any position in the company. So here the candidate can also record a video, tell you a little bit about a project that they've led in the past. So this range of questions is really a good way to test not only the technical skills, but also the soft skills of the candidate. So that said, we'll go back into Comeet, and I'm going to go ahead and choose this assessment. It looks great for my needs. Once I've added it to the position workflow, candidates will also have this step, of course, in their candidate workflow. And let's go with this one, I think. Great. So all I have to do once the candidate reaches this step in order to get the process started and send the test is just to click on Start. Once I've done this, you can see that the test has been sent. There's this little badge here. I can see when the test was sent, and the candidate will have a time limit that's been set up in your Vervoe account in order to complete the test. The results will be received here in Comeet, and I'll be able to go over them. I'll show you a quick example of a candidate that filled one of these out in the past. The way that the results will be displayed inside of Comeet is a scorecard here on the right. Just like the scorecard you're used to for any type of other evaluations, you'll be able to see the different areas of skills were tested here. So in this specific position, it's a sales position. So we have sales process, communication, problem solving, cultural fit, and very importantly, I have this link here to view and rank the answers. So while the AI initially does grading based on the preferences that it's learned from you, as well as the answers that were answered by the candidate, you have the opportunity to also go in and rank the answers right in here from Comeet by clicking on this link. Make sure that the AI also can learn your preferences in grading future tests, and also give you the opportunity to go over all of the questions yourself and kind of recalibrate if you need to in terms of the answers here. So as you can see, and I'll stop sharing now, using the Vervoe integration in Comeet is really simple. There's a very quick setup that I didn't show you behind the scenes. It's just adding an API key in your company settings, and you're plugged in and good to go. Very usable, and I think it will give you a lot of real value. That's it. I'm going to pass you over to Jen.
Thank you, Orly. Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Sheliff. I head our customer success team here at Vervoe. I work closely with our customers to ensure that they're meeting their goals, that they're creating an engaging experience for their candidates, that they're getting the full value out of Vervoe. And so I want to share a few best practices with you. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Stop my video for just a moment. Okay. All right. Okay, can you guys see my screen? Thumbs up? Yeah, cool. Thank you, Jameson. All right. So creating a skills assessment. A great skills assessment is both an art and a science. You want to make sure to design a thoughtful assessment with the right series of questions. Crafting these questions should be a collaborative process between the recruiting team and the team hiring the new employee. So a good assessment will include questions that can be answered by someone who's already doing the job and can help measure key performance metrics. Questions should be specifically tailored to relate to the responsibilities of the role. So when designing a test, it's important to combine different types of questions to get a 360 view of how the candidate will perform in different scenarios and job-related tasks. So to build a great assessment, first, you really need to define what to test. So what do you need to test? Okay, you need to define your ideal candidate, the skills required for them to succeed in the role. So to start, consider what the day-to-day tasks, activities will be for that new hire. Also consider the challenges you may have encountered with previous hires as well. Okay, what tools will they be using? A CRM, Google Suites, maybe Microsoft, social media platforms, maybe their design tools, maybe they need to design a website, etc. Right? So, and then also think about what tasks they will need to perform. So for example, will it be writing emails, reports, creating content, maybe talking with customers, scheduling meetings, designing logos, etc. Right? Tons of things. And also think about your business goals and how that new hire is going to contribute to achieve those goals. Right? And also you want to think about how they're going to interact with your company. How do your teams work together remotely in the office? What are your company values? These are all things you need to consider before you build or choose a test. Okay, so once you've defined it and you have your ideal candidate skills, you can start searching through our library of assessments that was created by our team. So we have over 300 assessments where you can choose them. It's a template. You can use it as is, or you can customize it, okay? The templates we have cover most of the most common skills for each role and have a ton of AI data behind it. So you can use these assessments, or you can build your own using our assessment builder. Okay, simply by entering the job title, our system will recommend skills and questions to include, or you can choose to just create your own. So whether you're using one of our assessment templates or creating your own from scratch, there are some things to keep in mind to ensure you're creating an engaged and optimized assessment, right? So the assessment should have a minimum of 6 questions, so you can get enough insight into how the candidate will perform on the job. The best is 8 to 10, but no more than 12. You want to keep the assessment at a reasonable length for candidates, which will help increase the completion rates, and it won't take up too much of their time. We also want to make sure that we vary the question types to make it more engaging. It will also give you more insight into how candidates perform with different work styles, but it also gives the candidates a better opportunity to show what they can do in different methods. Avoid including only video response questions or starting with a video, because this can actually reduce the completion rates by 30%, we've found. Start with a text-based question, include multiple choice questions. Those are always really good to help ease the candidates. Include interactive style questions. We integrate with G Suite, so you can ask a candidate to edit a document, a spreadsheet, or a presentation all in app. So there's no need for them to download a file or upload a file or anything like that. To further increase completion rates, you want to start with the easier questions, as I mentioned, and you want to build up to more difficult ones. Again, starting with a text-based response or multiple choice is best, and then including a video or work sample around questions 3 or 4. So for example, some of our customers like to start off with a values-based question, something that provides information on your company, right, about the team that we'll be working in. It can include a company video that highlights company mission and values, or a video of a hiring manager welcoming the candidates to the hiring process. Anything that might give the candidates more insight into what it's like working in your organization. Lastly, minimize the use of timers. You should only use them if it will help mimic a time situation in the job. So for example, a call center agent may need to quickly record keynotes about a customer call, before they answer the next incoming call. So timing it may help recreate that experience for the candidate. You might also use timers on knowledge-based questions, where someone actually needs to quickly recall knowledge on a subject to demonstrate their expertise. And really, you want to try to avoid using timers on videos. And this is really because you want to make sure that they have enough time to answer. So if you do use a video timer, you just have to keep in mind to give enough time so that they can read the questions, record the answer, and ensure that they can answer the questions. Sometimes candidates will run into technical issues, so you just want to make sure that you give them at the minimum 5 minutes to complete it. Okay, so once you've created your assessments and you've invited your candidate to complete it, our AI will start calculating the results, right? And there's just one thing to keep in mind, that a skills test should be used to screen your candidates in, not out. The issue many recruiters face is that volume of candidates sometimes makes it impossible to carefully consider each person's ability. Vervoe's AI scores everyone solely on their performance rather than filtering them out if they don't meet a certain benchmark. It removes a human bias and shows you the top candidates, but no one misses out on being considered for the next round. Okay, you can dig deep into the data gathered, compare candidates' overall scores, and review specific skill results to empower the next step of your hiring process. And ultimately, it helps you hire with confidence based on merit. All right. Thank you so much. That was pretty much, in a nutshell, our best practices. Sending it back to Orly now.
Thank you, Jen. So at this point, I'd like to open the stage for you guys. If you have any questions, comments that you'd like to send over, please feel free to send them over in the Q&A here. I see that there was one question that was already answered by Jameson in the chat.
Oh.
So he's
nice,
quick.
Jameson. He's quick.
So if you guys have any other questions, I see that we have one here that I'm going to let Jameson and Jen handle about the subscription.
Yeah, so there's different levels of subscription. Most of them are tied directly to volume. So our pricing model right now is based on the volume of candidates that would come through the system on an annual basis. So there's a unit cost attached to the completion rate, if you will. So it's all customized based on the specific client's needs. So if there is an interest in getting some pricing, simply reach out to us. I'll be more than happy to go through it all. But when we do talk, if you could have some estimation or forecast of what your annual candidate volume looks like, that would be helpful.
Okay, thank you. Anything else that anybody here would like to ask before we sign off?
What was the, somebody said the first question, which was that?
Maybe the answer was missed here. Is this the question about whether it's a personality assessment tool or a skills assessment tool? Yeah.
Yeah, so hi Zubair. I know you just put the question in. I had answered that a little while ago. So yes, what we're talking about here is definitely 100% skills assessment. So Vervoe and Comeet together, we don't provide personality assessments or what's known as psychometric testing. Frankly, we don't think they're a good indicator of overall performance, which is why we tend to focus on skills assessment, right? So thinking about what we do, going back to the top of our discussion today, if you think about it as an audition, what you want to put forward is some examples of the types of work that candidates would be expected to do at your company and building an assessment to coincide with that so that we truly can show you how well they're going to perform in a specific role at your organization.
Great. I see that we also have another question that we'll answer now, which is how do you ensure the validity of custom questions?
Jen, did you want to take that question?
Yeah, that's a great question. Listen, as long as the question is actually testing something that will be performed in the job, it's validated. It's what we call face validity, content validity, as long as it's related to the job, right? You don't want to ask a random question that's not valid. It has to be something based on that role, and then it's considered validated.
Yep.
Great, thank you. Great. So thank you so much to Jameson and Jen for joining me today, and to all of you for attending as well. As always, we'll be sending out a recording of the webinar that you'll be able to share with your friends and your colleagues about what we covered today. And Comeet support is always here to answer any questions that you might have as well.
Awesome.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Orly. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Orly.
Bye now.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.